Hello! Today I want to talk to you about health and the history of health. I once heard a joke about amnesia. I forget how it goes. Anyway, physicians are recorded as far back as ancient Egypt. Imhotep, of mummy fame, was the physician to King Zoser and lived in about 2600 BC. Imhotep was considered so important that he was, after his death, worshipped as a god of healing. And despite some strange and spiritual remedies, the ancient Egyptians were discovering things about the human body and how it worked, and they knew the heart and pulse rates, blood and air were important to the workings of the human body. A heart that beat feebly told the doctors that the patient had problems. Well, in the film Monkey Business, Groucho Marx impersonates a doctor, grabbing the patient's wrist and saying, "Either this man's dead or my watch has stopped." We know that the Greeks were practicing medicine about 1,000 years before the birth of Christ. In the Iliad by Homer, the Greek leader in the tale, Menelaus, was treated for an arrow wound by doctor-in-arms Machaon, after complaining of piercing and stabbing pains. The Romans were great believers in a healthy mind equaling a healthy body. There was a belief that if you kept fit, you'd be able to combat an illness better. Rather than spend money on a doctor, many Romans spent money on keeping fit. Now, I myself use a gym, but I'm always wary of the fact that one of my favourite authors, Douglas Adams of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fame, died in a gym. So don't overdo it. I don't. I park my car in the spot nearest the door. In the Middle Ages, medicine became steeped in superstition, and the church effectively dominated what direction the medical world took. Any views different from the established Roman Catholic Church view could veer towards heresy with the punishments that entailed. Therefore, when the Church stated that certain illnesses were punishments from God, and that those who were ill were so ill because they were sinners, few dared argue otherwise. An American friend of mine was recently rushed to the hospital following a serious tumble. There, the staff placed around his wrist a band with large letters warning "Fall Risk." Unimpressed, he told the nurses, "I'll have you know I'm a winter, spring and summer risk too." Now, this is a true story. My brother went into hospital with an infected foot. After a few days there, a doctor came to him and said they were now taking him for his operation. He explained that he was surprised as no surgery had been mentioned to him so far. The doctor insisted it was correct and that they were going to remove his appendix as it might burst. My brother-in-law told them outright there was nothing wrong with his appendix. They checked his name and insisted there was, until, after continuous refusal, a quick phone call revealed there was another patient with the same name. During a patient's 2-week follow-up appointment with his cardiologist, he informed his doctor that he was having trouble with one of his medications. "Which one?" the doctor asked. "Well, the patch." "The nurse told me," says the patient, "to put on a new one every 6 hours, and now I'm running out of places to put them." The doctor had him quickly undressed and was discovered what he hoped he wouldn't see. The man had over 50 patches on his body. Now the instructions for patches included the removal of the old patch before applying a new one. Now, thankfully, this following story didn't result in a death, but it goes to show you how sloppy handwriting can be in healthcare. A woman in Arkansas brought her baby in to see the doctor, and the doctor determined right away that the baby had an earache. He wrote a prescription for eardrops, and in the directions he wrote, "Put 2 drops in right ear every 4 hours," and he abbreviated right as an R with a circle around it. Several days passed, and the woman then returned with her baby, complaining that the baby still had an earache and his little behind was getting really greasy with all those drops of oil. The doctor looked at the bottle of eardrops, and sure enough, the pharmacist had typed the following instruction on the label: "Put 2 drops in R ear every 4 hours. Once there was a nurse on duty in an American A&E department when a young woman with purple hair styled into a punk rocker mohawk, sporting a variety of tattoos and wearing strange clothing, entered. It was quickly determined that the patient had acute appendicitis, and so she was scheduled for immediate surgery. When she was completely disrobed on the operating table, the staff noticed that her pubic hair had been dyed green, and above it there was a tattoo that read "Keep off the grass." Once the surgery was completed, the surgeon wrote a short note on the patient's dressing which said, "Sorry, had to mow the lawn." On a related note, I tried to look up impotence on the internet, but nothing came up. And finally, remember, when you're wishing your friends good health, you're wishing unemployment for the doctors. Goodbye.